Good day, everyone. This is Don Green, an attorney in Las Vegas, Nevada. Many of you know me from the broadcast which we do at Rigel Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, generally on the American Guns and Glory Network and on my YouTube channel. You also know that we've been doing a series of presentations with judges and judicial candidates. And I'm pleased to introduce Lance Hendron, who is a candidate for Justice Court Department 3 in Henderson, Nevada. And how are you, Judge?
Doing well, Don.
Fine.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you
now,
so much.
We're going to get into a little bit more about your family life and your background in a little while, but our audience wants to know right up front, why should they vote for Lance Hendron?
They should vote for Lance Hendron because he takes safety of our community. I take it extremely important. I've been a Southern Nevada resident for nearly 37 years. My parents still live in the same residence that I grew up in. I have a wife and 2 daughters. Community safety is extremely important to me.
So what are the 3 main elements of your campaign?
My 3 main elements are being fair, impartial, and maintaining community engagement, and also making sure that there's access to justice. I know that's 4, but access to justice for the community as well.
And we're going to get into your experience in just a few moments. Now, when you decided to run for the Henderson Justice Court, were there any committees or any organizations which you went for an endorsement?
Yes, Don.
What is an endorsement?
So an endorsement is where there's various organizations or community leaders who are going to say, this individual is who I'm going to support in the campaign.
And tell us about the endorsement process.
Certainly. So it varies on the particular organization or the individual, but usually it entails meeting with those that run the organization, usually have a questionnaire form that you fill out, and you meet with their committee and have kind of a question and answer form with them.
In these endorsements, when you have this committee, do they ask you questions of how you're going to rule on a specific case?
Some might, but I do preference it, just giving them the heads up that that would not be proper for me to make a decision on a particular case. So we would just take a step back on some of those kind of questions.
And maybe have the first slide. What endorsements do you have?
So I've been endorsed by SEIU, Culinary, Clark County, our top prosecutor, Steve Wolfson, Hispanic in Politics.
Hispanic in Politics. Did you have a meeting with them or an interview?
So not necessarily a meeting, but they do hold a monthly breakfast. And what that entails is listening to the community leaders, having the opportunity to meet with individuals that actually run Hispanic in Politics, and kind of develop that bond. So making sure that you're present and that you're there, just as what you'd be as with a judge.
For example, with the what was it? The Spanish, the Hispanic.
Hispanic in Politics.
Hispanic in Politics. Were there other judicial candidates from Henderson or for Henderson Justice Court Department 3? Were they present during this interview process?
So at these monthly breakfast meetings that Hispanic in Politics has every month, I personally don't recall. I believe I've been the only one that's consistently been present.
And you mentioned the Culinary Union. That's probably the biggest union in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
And they have the hotel maids. I'm not sure about the bartenders, but the porters. I was in the union, 50-something years, over half a century. I'll just say that. Tell me about the Culinary.
I'm very blessed to have the Culinary. They're hardworking families. There's actually what makes our community, tourism being as important as it is, they make our economy go around. And so to have their support and backing, it means a lot to me. And I take great pride in their support and in their endorsement and getting the word out as far as my candidacy.
Now, you are known in the courthouse or the courthouses as a superior lawyer. That's my opinion. And I've been a lawyer 43 years, and I've seen it all. But as a criminal defense lawyer, do you have the endorsement of your adversaries?
So I do. I have our top prosecutor, Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson, endorsing me.
And Steve Wolfson was also a private attorney for a number of years.
Yes.
Former U.S. attorney, former deputy district attorney, and now the district attorney. And tell us about the endorsement by Steve Wolfson, and why is that important to the viewing audience?
So with Mr. Wilson, and he would tell me, Lance, call me Steve. Having his endorsement means a lot. Being a criminal defense attorney over the many years, almost been doing it now for 18 years.
And hold on. And Steve Wolfson is the top prosecutor in this county.
Correct. Top
And
prosecutor.
he endorses a criminal defense attorney.
Exactly.
Thank you. Go ahead and continue.
Exactly. And that's why it really means a lot to me. I think he recognizes that I work extremely hard for my clients. I'm ethical. We have the ability to communicate on cases that I work with his deputies with. And I think over these, almost 18 years plus of me having been practicing criminal defense, I'm just grateful that he's been able to recognize the hardworking attorney that is just in my makeup. It's just something that I take extremely important.
Now, do you believe that this number of years of experience, do you believe that what you've learned in the well of the court can translate to your being on the bench and making decisions?
100%.
And why?
Well, I think being active in the courtroom is extremely important for judges because it gives us the opportunity to understand what the attorneys are having to do as far as interacting with either the judge or the jury, having the ability to make arguments that and logical arguments that make sense. And giving that opportunity look, the reality is being in the courtroom on a daily basis, and you're for a respectful word, in this conflict that you're dealing with, and being able to deal with that pressure and that adversity sense is something that I think you only actually learn by actually being in the courtroom.
And do you think that you have, for our viewing audience, do you think you have that work ethic?
Absolutely. I took an oath, take extreme pride in that.
How many hours a day do you work?
It's usually somewhere where I'm constantly juggling around. I think typically a minimum of about 8 hours. But when we're, in something really serious, I will be burning midnight oil. And it's something that I also have to recognize on the family front, too, because there's that balancing component.
We'll get to the balancing of the family in a minute. So within the past 6 or 8 months, you filed what I consider to be an incredible motion to keep out testimony. And the motion itself was brilliant, 30, 40 pages, but hundreds of pages of exhibits. Now, how much time do you think you spent on that court appointment case?
Yes, sir.
On that court appointment case, how much time do you think you spent on that?
Well, it entailed going over various medical documents, having to actually look up a lot of medical terminology and have a better understanding of what was going on, and then also doing the review for the cases that exist as well for making those arguments. I mean, you're probably looking at anywhere between at least 20 to 30 hours if I had to just give a rough estimate. And that was, again, on basically an extremely important but isolated issue in the particulars of the case.
Now, let's go to the next slide, please. What is your vision for the Henderson Justice Court?
My vision is being able to, look, on day one, I want to be able to make sure that it would be a scenario where cases are moving along effectively.
Let me stop you right there. On day one, you are expected to put on the robe and sit on the bench. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So there's no lag period. Do you have to go to the Judicial College in Reno?
Yes, and actually, as a matter of fact, I've already done that.
Okay.
When I decided that I was going to run, they actually just started at the National Judicial College a program called Aspiring to Take the Bench. And that was actually a week-long class. I was up in Reno for a week long, just making sure I can learn the most that I possibly can.
So on day one, after you're sworn in, you put on that robe and you go into the court to make difficult and sometimes easy decisions, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you believe that the number of years, what is 17, 18?
Going on 18.
18 years of practice as a licensed lawyer in the state of Nevada, which with California are the two hardest bar examinations to pass. And then do you believe that the experience you've learned and your life experience as part of your vision, do you believe that that translates into how you will be an effective jurist?
Absolutely. And the other thing that I have done too, Don, is not only just the education on the law and doing the criminal defense work, but I've actually given my time. I participated in the Henderson Police Citizens Academy that was 12 weeks long. I'm trying to do a lot of things that are kind of outside of the box thinking,
Yes.
because I think that just assists, again, on that day one approach, because cases have to continue to move along. We have to be respectful and mindful of individuals that are in the midst of an adversarial process, and also the attorneys that are coming before the court as well.
And again, for the viewing audience, what is your vision for the court?
My vision is just to making sure that I'm an individual who listens. I think listening is extremely important. Making sure that I'm making educated and informed decisions based upon the information that I do hear from the attorneys or individuals perhaps representing themselves. Making sure that there's transparency, that there's openness, so that individuals who either are in the midst of a case or they want to come before their cases are heard or get an overview of the courts have the opportunity to do so. Those are extremely important.
What happens when you are in court, the public defender is representing somebody on a horrific child sexual assault case, and the prosecutors, who you all know, are on this side, and you're friends with both? Are you going to be impartial?
100%.
And tell us why.
Well, the most important thing is taking that oath. I take my word is extremely a strong bond that I take extremely serious. It's my reputation that's at stake. I understand these are individuals, as far as the attorneys, who I may have crossed paths with, developed friendships with. But at the end of the day, what my position is being on the bench, hearing both sides, and making articulated, proper decisions on the rule of law.
Now, tell us a little bit about the Henderson Justice Court relative to the Henderson Municipal Court and other courts.
Certainly. So I consider the Henderson Justice Court to be the people's court. And what I mean by that is cases that will come in front of me in my jurisdiction will be things such as small claims where the amount of damages is going to be a lower amount than you would have in other courts. Additionally, dealing with landlord-tenant eviction issues, non-domestic non-domestic temporary protective orders, and then also the Justice of the Peace, the Henderson Justice Court judge, hears misdemeanors from the start till the end. And then the more serious felony type cases, we just hear a probable cause hearing. Now, how that differentiates from the Henderson Municipal Court is in Henderson Municipal Court, the offense has to be within, and it's a misdemeanor offense. Henderson Municipal Court only deals with misdemeanor offenses that are within the incorporated area of Henderson. Now, Henderson is an extremely large city. There's areas that aren't actually incorporated through the city. So those kind of cases would actually come into the Henderson Justice Court. Additionally, Henderson Municipal Court also hears traffic ticket matters as well.
So you mentioned something about small claims. Is there also a Justice Court Civil?
Correct. Yes, there is.
And the Justice Court Civil, I believe that the jurisdictional limit is $15,000.
You are correct on that.
So suppose that a civil law firm has filed a lawsuit in the Henderson Justice Court, and you've been assigned to do civil cases, and the people who filed the lawsuit, there's a big law firm for a client, it's something stupid, but still they want to file it, and they donated to your campaign, and the plaintiff is represented by an attorney, one of those discount attorneys, and tell the audience how you are going to rule, even though the plaintiff's attorneys contributed $500 to your campaign?
Fair question, and I think that's important to consider. But I think the reality is individuals who do contribute and support my campaign financially, they're there just to make sure that, looking at it from the standpoint of, we believe he will be a good judge, and part of being that good judge is being impartial. So they know that when I'm on the bench, it's not going to matter what particular law firm that they come from. And look, the reality is, too, in Henderson Justice Court, when you're dealing with that amount, which up to $15,000, don't get me wrong, that's still a large amount of money, but it may be something where trying to hire an attorney, it may not necessarily be cost efficient, or somebody may not be able to afford it. And for me, the fact of the matter is, whether they're represented by whomever it might be, or if they represent themselves in pro per, that's not going to make a difference. What is important is the evidence that's presented to me to take into consideration on making my decisions and rulings.
Thank you. May we have the next slide, please? Now, we've had other judicial candidates and judges talk about specialty courts, but they were all downtown. Tell us what the specialty courts are in Henderson, and how you believe that your experience with many of these programs, how do you believe that will translate into your judicial temperament and philosophy?
Certainly. So Henderson Justice Court specifically, there are no specialty courts in Henderson Justice Court. What the law does allow is, when an individual may be sent to a specialty court, the Henderson Justice Court can transfer that jurisdiction to another court. So, for instance, in Henderson Municipal Court, they do have a veterans court, and they also have a drug court component. But that would have to be transferred from Henderson Justice Court to Municipal Court, or alternatively, we also have things like mental health court, gaming diversion courts that exist downtown Vegas. Those would have to be transferred all the way down to the downtown courthouse in Vegas.
Okay. And when you transfer, from what you know, when the judge transfers these, does the judge have a good, should the judge have a good handle on the case when he refers the case?
Yes, I believe so. And I think the other thing to take into consideration as well is, look, when we transfer these to other jurisdictions, those other jurisdictions are having to pick up additional cases and utilize their resources. So one of the things that I would like to look into, if I am elected, is looking at it from the standpoint of, are there opportunities, are there ways that Henderson Justice Court can evolve itself in trying to develop some of these specialty courts? I would like to coordinate and be in communication with the other judges outside of Henderson Justice Court that run these specialty courts. So that way it may give me a better understanding. And then also looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, are there grant funding, or things that exist out there that Henderson Justice Court could utilize in order to develop and evolve these specialty courts?
So in your practice as an attorney, 17 years, in many cases, I'm sure that you've taken the initiative to focus on a particular issue for a client, correct?
Correct.
And as a judicial candidate, are you taking the initiative to present, maybe to the court system, maybe to the county, maybe to the budget committee, the necessity for certain courts, and we know it's going to cost money, but ultimately the community will benefit and be safe?
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that you bring up too is the fact of costing the community. I want to be able to look in again to see if there are types of, whether it's state or federal grant funding that might exist, that are looking from the standpoint of individuals who are not recidivism, that aren't dealing with the more serious, egregious type of felony cases, that can we create something in Henderson Justice Court that allows individuals who may have made mistakes in their life, and it may be contributed to our veterans. They may have PTSD. There may be mental health issues. There may be substance abuse issues. Getting them that type of treatment, as opposed to just looking at it from a standpoint of, hey, put them in jail. Because at the end of the day, do we actually solve the underlying problem? And my answer to that would be no. So that's why I think it's really important for us to take a broader look and figuring out ways to address and prevent recidivism behavior in our community.
and this is what you would like to present, or maybe after you're on the bench for a while, it may come to as an idea. Like, for example, Municipal Court Judge Matt Walker has got the proposal for a new speeding court. So you're both taking the initiative. And do you think that that is an important component of your campaign, is that you can take the initiative?
Absolutely. And what I can also, if I may just go a little bit with my background then too, I was president at a point, it's been about maybe 10 years or so, but I've been actively involved with the criminal defense bars statewide, where there are members of this organization. And during my presidency, I was actually one of the first at the table of what is called the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC. And that entails a bunch of the community leaders and stakeholders, where we sit around and we try to figure out ways of addressing issues, recidivism, the cost of incarcerating individuals, ways to find solutions to problems that exist. And at my time sitting at that table, we did work on things we were dealing with, for instance, issues with having our jails overpopulated. And based upon that type of knowledge and skill and experience that I bring, I'm going to bring that exactly to the table when I'm, elected to the bench, making sure that I find ways to address these issues that I'm looking at.
So that is some administrative experience, correct?
Yes.
And isn't it true that Henderson Justice Court, you've got a staff?
Correct.
You have to have staff meetings.
Yep.
You got a chief judge breathing down your neck.
Yep.
You got the Supreme Court breathing down your neck.
Yes.
You got the Court of Appeals breathing down your neck.
Correct.
So do you believe that you have the administrative experience to go into the judgeship in Department 3 of the Henderson Justice Court?
I do. And I think the important thing when you bring all those up as well is, look, the staffing is vital. You can never take that for granted. It's a true blessing to have the courtroom staff that are making sure, because look, at the end of the day, a judge is wearing the robe, but ask that judge without having all the staffing there to have the courtroom run, and it's not going to happen. So making sure that there's a close connection with the courtroom staff and understanding if we are evolving specialty court programs, how can we address that? And then additionally, when we look at these other jurisdictions and the higher courts as well, trying to present them with information and empirical data that shows, hey, if we are able to develop additional courts that are addressing underlying roots of issues in our community, and there's ways that it may save money versus the cost per day of what it takes to lock somebody up, detain them, I think it's an important conversation for us all to have. And look, at the end of the day, that's the thing, is just having the ability to sit collectively and have that opportunity where we may not all necessarily agree on something, but communicating and talking about it is extremely important.
So you're being on this committee for criminal justice attorneys, having set up and gone through the administrative procedures with your 17 years of practice. Do you think that this valuable experience distinguishes you from your opponents?
I do believe so. I absolutely believe that to be the case.
And so for the viewing audience, do you believe that with your vast experience in many types of trials, do you believe that this experience can translate into you becoming an impartial, strict sometimes, judge?
100%.
Okay, may we have the next slide, please? Let's talk about Lance Hendron, the father and the husband. Go ahead and tell us about your personal life and how long you've been in the Las Vegas area.
Thanks, Don. So my parents, I'm an only child. My parents, we've got a big family in the Midwest, not too far away from Chicago in Indiana. And my parents got job opportunities at the Mirage in 1989 when it opened up, and lo and behold, now it's closed. But we moved out here in 1989, started in humble beginnings, living in an apartment. And then, my parents were able to kind of get that American dream of getting the house. A year later, 1990, move into a home. My parents still live in that same house. So it's been 36 odd years. Did public schooling out here, graduate of Silverado High School in 1999. And have the chance to have my family in Henderson. I've got a wife and two daughters, a soon-to-be 16-year-old. So this morning I was just trying to help her with driving. We were on the highway doing our best, but certainly we're working on that. And then I also have a 9-year-old daughter as well. Yesterday we were over at her dance recital, and both of them are doing really well, public schooling, and I'm just really grateful kind of where I've been able to get these opportunities where I'm at in life. It's an extremely humbling experience.
In your judicial role, do you believe that there will come a time when someone's daughter was assaulted and the defendant is in custody in your courtroom? What's going to run through your mind?
I think the most important thing, obviously, is going to be what information, what arguments are being made for me to decide on, what information is being provided to me to make those decisions, following the rule of law, making sure that we have the protection for our community, knowing that, again, I'm a son, husband, father, and also being able to balance, the rule of law. We don't want to infringe on anyone's civil rights and liberties that we have. So, those are going to be difficult things, if you will, to try to process, but with the understanding that I'm capable of doing that. And again, making sure that I'm following the rule of law and listening to the information that is presented to me to make that decision.
And you believe that your experience and background will come to play. Not necessarily you're looking at something in the background, but your experience as a lawyer, your experience as administrator with the Criminal Justice Association that you talked about. Do you believe that that's going to help you on starting on the first day that you ever take the bench?
Absolutely. And there'll be some things I think we're also going to touch upon as far as my community engagement. But even, for instance, going through the Henderson Police Citizens Academy through those 12 weeks, and learning through, police officers have a very difficult job. There's no doubt about it. They're out there protecting our community, and they're getting themselves involved in extremely dangerous situations. And the fact of the matter is they're on body cam full time. So, all these things put a lot of pressure on having to just take all those things that I've learned, understanding at least what ultimately I'm trying to make a decision or I'm listening on to provide, whether it's information or a particular ruling. But I do think that all that personal background, experiences, and the ongoing education, knowing that, hey, we as humans are learning every single day. We can never stop.
And in your experience, how many jury trials have you handled?
I think I'm over around 5 or 6 right now.
And these were extremely difficult trials?
They were, because I've done civil trial and I've done criminal trials as well. And look, at the end of the day, we're dealing with individuals who have the potential of whether it's losing monetary or their liberties are at stake. So
and you and I are litigating. We're co-counsel in a murder case now.
Yes.
All right. And it's very difficult, multiple defendants, lots of evidence coming through.
Yes.
So again, do you believe that all of your experience, do you think that this is a job for on-the-job training?
No. I think that it takes many years, not even just going through law school, taking the bar exam and passing that. That's all a starting point. But I think that, again, actually being active in the courtroom, being able to make those arguments, whether it's in front of a judge or a jury, having these motions, it's and your life experience takes time.
May we have the next slide, please? Now, you mentioned earlier about community involvement. Describe for the viewing audience some of the factors of community involvement which they should consider of their overall assessment of why you're the best candidate.
Thank you. So for many years, even before I decided that I was going to plan on running for the bench, I've just viewed community engagement important for having life experiences and being able to understand kind of our certain situations that we may have blessings in life, looking out for individuals that may be having difficulty in their life. I think it's just really been something that I've taken focus with. And, I've been involved with the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada, been on their pro bono council for many years, again, before I decided to announce to run.
Is that Legal Aid of Southern Nevada? Is that on East Charleston?
Yes, it is.
And they have a lot of cases.
They do.
But why do you think that taking a pro bono case has helped you or has enriched your professional career?
Well, I think it's helped me because it's from the standpoint of having additional experience. Every case on its face, there's always something that's different. I mean, certainly there may be issues or there may be certain things that are touched upon that may have similarities, but when you really go in depth with cases, you see how they are different, so you get that experience. And then also just the connection you make with whomever you're representing. You're being a zealous advocate for them. And you get just better understanding of, everyday individuals who may have financial constraints where they're not able to hire that attorney, but nonetheless, we're out there and able to help them on that pro bono basis.
Now, many people on the street who would see your ads and they meet you at the grocery store, they would ask you a question. How would you rule on this case? What would you tell that person?
I would just respectfully let them know, look, it's very nice to meet you. I appreciate you introducing yourself. But at the end of the day, the ethics, the judicial canons prevent me from talking about any type of active cases or how I may make a decision on a particular case.
What are the main points of your campaign?
My main points are, look, I think it's extremely important, again, describing the Henderson Justice Court as the people's court. I want to make sure that individuals, litigants have that access to justice. I think it helps twofold. It helps out the individuals having a better understanding of what resources may be available so I can understand the case in the scenario where I may not be able to afford an attorney to help me through this process. Again, in the civil nature, it's not like you're automatically guaranteed that attorney. And then secondly, I also think that it provides the access to justice, provides the ability for courtroom efficiency. In other words, if individuals are able to get information prior to having the hearings, my courtroom is open, so if they want to come down and look at the any type of hearings before theirs takes place and just educating themselves, cases will continue to move along versus somebody that respectfully, and I get it, going into court can be an extremely nerve-wracking process. It might be the individual's first time. And so at least it gives them that outlet, if you will, for having a better understanding of kind of what the expectations are when you come into the courtroom.
So do you consider your points for the court and translating into your campaign that these are exceptionally strong points based on your experience as a litigator?
Yes, I do. Yes. And again, with the access to justice and then talking about the community engagement, I mean, there were other things as well being involved with We the People, which is a yearly, it's a high school civics competition where I serve as a judge with other jurists and attorneys and community leaders, get a chance to go out there and listen and see how much optimism exists with our youth. And I learned from them going through the Just One project, where they help out with individuals dealing with food insecurity and getting to connect with the community, being involved with Shine a Light, an organization that I take really dear to my heart, where we go in the flood channels here in southern Nevada and help out individuals with housing displacements. Again, you're looking at it from veterans, individuals that may be dealing with financial issues. When you look at the numbers, it could happen to any given person. And so being able to have those life experiences and then also recognizing that in addition to being kind of out on the ground, if you will, firsthand, then figuring out, hey, with the judiciary, looking at things like those specialty courts to try to work and see if there are ways that we can address these various issues that we as a community, unfortunately face.
Now, when you talk about what you just did, isn't it true that you started going like to the tunnels, you were started active in these other ones and Shine a Light before you decided to be a judge?
For many years.
All right, so it's not something you're doing to sugarcoat your campaign.
No, Don, and look, I'm in this to win it, but regardless, whatever may happen, I'm just personally committed to continuing to serve our community. And again, it kind of full circle back to just when we were talking about my personal background. I take just really true blessings of the opportunities that I've had in my life. And I just want to make sure that I have the ability to give back, to pay it forward, to allow other individuals that opportunity. Now, every one of them, they may not take advantage of that, but just making sure that that opportunity is available for individuals is something, again, that I take extremely just near and dear to my heart.
All right. Easter Sunday,
Yes,
3 p.m.
yes.
You're in the kitchen in the home, family's there. You say, excuse me, to your wife, and you're bringing out the ham, the turkey, whatever, for Thanksgiving, for Easter dinner. You're taking it out, and at that moment, the phone rings, and your daughter says, there's a policeman on the phone for you. What do you do?
Hey, if I'm on search warrant duty, as the judge, it's my obligation to take that phone call.
Why?
It's extremely important because at that given time, there may be information or evidence that needs to be obtained. And if it's properly being done, then we got to make sure that that's addressed because it's important information. It protects the sanity of the case, making sure, again, things such as our community, and also making sure that it protects individuals that they themselves may be accused of, that they gather that information before, for instance, it could be something like spoliation, where the evidence doesn't exist there anymore.
Yes. Well, you and I have litigated issues of a search warrant and whether or not the people abandoned property, a very complex issue.
Yes.
And when you get that phone call on Easter Sunday and you gently put down your ham and you go over there, you have to rely on what the police officer is telling you, yes or no.
Yes, he's saying it. He's saying under oath. This is what I'm saying.
When he's presenting the information, is that all the information in the case?
Not necessarily.
So isn't it true that based on your 17 years of experience in litigating search warrants, in seeing search warrants, in filing motions or papers to keep out the evidence in search warrants, would you say that all that's going to come in play in the minutes you have to decide whether the search warrant is valid?
No, it's not practical that could be the case.
Okay, but when you're looking at that search warrant application, as the officer is testifying under oath for a telephonic warrant, isn't it true that you have to make an on-the-spot decision?
That is correct.
And it's not going to be 2 days, 3 days, it's going to be right then and there.
That is correct.
And that's based on information presented by the police.
Correct.
And you have no reason to doubt the police.
No.
Now, the warrant could be challenged later, correct?
Correct, and that's
All right.
the process.
But for you, your duty as the judge on duty for this search warrant duty, your duty is to look at it, balance the factors, and issue the warrant. Is that correct?
Yes.
If it's marginal, what will you do?
Well, I mean, it's when we kind of full circle back, it may be on a case-by-case basis, but, I'm thinking to myself that the officers are going to present as much information that they need to establish that there was probable cause, knowing that they're under oath. If there certainly are issues with it, it'd be something that I'd say, look, I'm not going to sign on this. I don't think it meets the legal standard or legal requirement.
Okay, but again, this brings us now full circle, as you point out. What is the absolute most critical aspect of your campaign?
No, it's safety of the community, 100%, making sure this community is safe, protecting our community. I've got family, friends. We live in a wonderful community, and I want to maintain that safety of the community.
And again, I got to stress this. This is not a job for somebody that's been practicing 5 years in family court and a couple of evictions and stuff like that. Agreed?
Absolutely.
And do you believe that you have the judicial temperament and the background to be an effective judge in Henderson Justice Court Department 3?
100%.
Thank you. Don Green signing off from Rigel Studios. Thank you so much, Lance.
Thank you, Don.
It's been a great program, and we want to thank Rigel Studios and for their great work. Thank you.
Thank you.